All right, and we are live Saturday, December 30th, picks and preview episode for the Pump Fake Pod. Um, Huff is, I believe he's in Nashville, celebrating the New Year's, ringing it in. So hope he's having a blast. Looked like he was last night. We got Rob Donaldson on finally. Long time. Been talking to him for a minute now. Met him in the sports gambling or college experience chat last year, and I've been talking to him ever since. So excited to have you on, Rob.
Yeah, man, it's exciting to be on, especially when we're talking about a slate across the board. Whether or not you like college basketball or NFL or college football, you got a little bit of everything. And man, it's a wrapping up a fun year, and I'm excited to dive into this. What 80 games that we got in front of us here?
Yeah, exactly 80 on the dot for college basketball. Yeah, packed slate
Love
today.
that. Love that.
Absolutely. Well, I guess let's just hop into it. Hofstra St. John's. Um, I'm personally on Hofstra plus 9.5 right now. Um, I know St. John's has, I think Ledlum is out. Um, but I like Speedy Claxton. I like this Hofstra team. This is an interstate rivalry, also, little brother angle, and this is the last, out of their conference. This is the last big game for Hofstra as well. They got conference play on deck, so I think they're going to give it their all. I mean, they gave Duke a pretty good game until late in that second half, and they kind of just flared out. So I'll be backing them again here. I think they're going to put together a complete game and keep this within single digits.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have a play on it personally, but if I was leaning anything, it's Hofstra. I mean, St. John's obviously put up a really good fight against UConn, about a week ago, which was pretty impressive from them. And they took care of business with Xavier as well. But it's still a team that I don't have a lot of trust and a lot of faith in yet. Obviously, they can win that back, seeing how they play, in conference play and this game as well. But yeah, I'm with you. I would lean Hofstra on this one.
I'm kind of leaning the other way. I don't have a bet on this game, kind of like you guys. I feel like this line, it's right in the territory that I just wouldn't want to bet. If I'm getting, 12 and a half or 13 and a half with Hofstra, I think that's the perfect number that would entice me to kind of go on that side. But when you're talking about single digits and just St. John's potentially getting the free throw line with how much they attack the paint, I feel like in the end of this game, the fouls and the free throws could just tack on. Hofstra could launch a bunch of threes, brick them out, and all of a sudden now you have an 11-point win. So I'm staying away. I would definitely lean towards actually the under here because kind of that reason. I think Hofstra could go on some scoreless stretches, and St. John's defensively, I mean they're going to be physical. They're going to be getting in your face, and that's a little bit of a different style than what Hofstra has seen so far.
Yeah. Go for it, Nick.
They do love feeding Soriano down low and just playing through him in the paint. So he can definitely get a lot of chances at the free throw line. But yeah, I can see, like you said, Hofstra going on scoreless streaks and then St. John just kind of dominating down low on the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking at their previous games here. Got them by 19. They kept it close with Princeton for 8 points, but other than that, they've gotten blown out on the games they've lost. I mean, they hung with St. Louis, but that's St. Louis. Kind of having me rethink this a little bit, but I think I'm just gonna have to trust my gut here. I mean, Hofstra is one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. If their threes are falling, they'll definitely hang in this game. It's just a matter of how.
Oh, we might have lost him.
Well,
I think the Martians abducted him. Oh well.
But no, yeah. I think he was on. I think he was on pace. We kind of gauged what he was feeling there, and I think that's right. I think there's anytime you have a team that is going to live at the free throw line, be efficient there, and then also would just jump shooting, be efficient there, and try to win games that way. Going on the road is a little bit difficult sometimes. I mean, and also the blowout variance is where always kind of keeps me uneasy when I want to take one of these teams with a low number. So. I think in the ideal scenario, Hofstra could win this thing by 20, and then all of a sudden you're thinking this is a sweat-free and even money line play it. But this could also be just over by the end of the first half too.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking maybe Hofstra first half. Maybe their shots are falling first half. They're everything's falling just like Evansville last night. I think Evansville shot like 58% or something ridiculous in the first half, and then Cincinnati just cranked it up on their ass last night, and they couldn't do anything in the second half. I'm actually gonna Benedict myself here and go Hofstra first half. Actually, the +5. I think they'll keep it kind of relatively close, and then second half that defense will figure it out. Step out. We're not going to give them open shots, dumb fouls, send them to the line where they want to. And then it'll probably just end up being a 13, 14 point loss or something. So yeah, I'm gonna switch over to Hofstra first half +5. Officially, I'll be on that for this game. All right. I guess we just moved down the slate. Or Rob, you got any games you want to talk about specifically?
In this early window, here's a disgusting one that I'm on. Mount St. Mary's going into Delaware State. I know it's not a marquee matchup, but I really do love the Mount. I think this is a team that record-wise, not the most appealing, but as conference play kind of takes over and as this backstretch of the season when they're not playing high majors takes over, I think that record's going to look real glossy by the end of it. And when you're catching these types of lines of -4 or -3 or -2.5, these are where these wins come from. And I think there's a stomp potential here as well with Mount St. Mary's. So I'm all over them. I wanted to bet a little bit more, only kind of just betting it to bet it at this point, but it's definitely something, an angle that I really like there.
Yeah, I think their defense is pretty good too, and especially going up against Delaware State, who's really struggling on offense so far this year. I mean, they're ranking like bottom 300 in almost every category on offense, while Mount St. Mary's defense is actually, in the top, near the top 100. So I really like that play as well, and they can definitely score the ball as well, especially inside the arc. So I definitely like that play as well.
Yeah, Mount is or not Mount. Delaware State's not a very good defensive team. I mean, they haven't beaten anybody inside the KenPom top 300. Two D2 teams as well. I mean, they're just getting routed. East Carolina by 20 or 30, damn near. I mean, they hung with Lamar, but otherwise, if they're losing games, they're losing games convincingly. So I'm with you on that one. I would like the Mount on that one as well. I'm sure they're probably going to win by closer to double digits the way things are looking here. If Delaware State doesn't keep it close, they're cooked.
Yeah, and it is that weird looking court where they got like honeycombs in the paint.
Oh,
so
okay.
Oh, shit.
All right.
That's the only reservation that you have here.
I love
have to
some of
watch
these
that.
disgusting courts, man. Like Oregon's is also gross as fuck.
Yeah, we'll get into Oregon later, but yes, that court just makes me want to trip out.
Oh yeah,
it's the worst. FIU too. You're on a beach, like with water. Like it's so weird.
That court makes me claustrophobic because ESPN Plus has like this weird lighting that comes in on that court, and there's no fans in the stands ever. So it's like, is there a tsunami just like closing in on me here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's
so weird.
Yeah. Some of these obscure teams in these courts are just absolutely hilarious, and the camera angles are horrendous. Huff is saying fuck TCU's court. I can get behind that. I mean, that weird color scheme. Nick, you got any other games in this early window that you try to hop on? Pittsburgh, Syracuse, or anything like that?
One that I'm on in the 12 o'clock window. I got some fat CLV on this. I'd still probably take it at what it's at. I have Lipscomb, Florida State over 148.5. I think it's all the way up to 152.5 now.
I see 153.
Yeah, shit. So I feel kind of bad giving that out, but that's the number I got it at last night. I just think both of these teams, they play super fast. Florida State's going to have the height advantage for sure. They always do. I feel like they don't ever recruit a guy that's like under 6'5" on this team. So I can see them putting up points. And like I said, they both play fast. Florida State's 63rd in tempo. Lipscomb's 35th in tempo. Both of them, Florida State's going to be able to get some second chance opportunities on the offensive glass. Lipscomb, they're not the worst at turning over the ball, but I think Florida State can force some turnovers. Florida State can get to the line. I just think this is going to be like a mid 70s type of game. I think Lipscomb will even get, low 70s. Florida State will be high 70s. We're going to pass that 150 mark. So I'm a little weary at the current number. But if I had to take a side still, I would still side with the over. But given that I got 148.5, I'm liking where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
Go for it, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, Lipscomb's a team that I actually ended up watching a few times this year. One, they obviously had played Arkansas tough. They almost came back on Belmont when they were down like 20 points on the road. And then I also watched the
Mhm.
UCF game. So a lot of the recent ones I've watched, and they have been dealing with a little bit of injuries. I know one of their big guards was out for a few of those games, so I don't know if he's back. I didn't look too deep into this one with just so many games on the slate, but this is a team that definitely small ball heavy, definitely doesn't give up, does a lot of things well in terms of just kind of balance and playing good defense and having enough of a variety on offense to kind of hit you with it. So this is the type of team that can hang around this number, especially with Florida State. I don't think being as good as what they kind of set the pace for this season at the start. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a competitive game. When you got a competitive game like this with, a team that can score points, I think the over is definitely the play there.
Yeah, so like you said, Boyd is that guard that's been dealing with some injury. He hasn't played, I don't think, in the last couple games, and he's still listed on the injury report as a game time decision. So,
Okay.
being that he's been sitting out for almost a month now, the last game he played was that Belmont game that you mentioned. So, hopefully he's back because I would love a 17 points per game score on the court for the over. But someone they'll make up the work if he's not playing. But yeah, everything you said, I agree. I think Lipscomb is a tough team, and like you said, they hang around these games. Like I was on Belmont on that game, so when I watched Lipscomb make that comeback, I was pulling my hair out. But yeah, they're definitely skilled, so I can definitely see them putting up points against anybody, especially a Florida State team, like you said, is a little bit inflated given their start of the season, who they played. So I really like the over here.
Yeah, I was looking at this game last night. I was kind of leaning Lipscomb, but it's down to 8.5 now. And after Evansville yesterday, after that's 18.5 to 17.5 move, like that screwed a ton of people. Kind of has me weary now. It's just sitting at 8.5. But um, Lipscomb just gives up over about 57% of the opponent's points coming inside the paint. They just don't have size. And Florida State, they got the size to just hang in down low and just grab rebounds, put them back up, take away second chance opportunities. So I think Lipscomb's going to be competitive in this one, but I think in the end it's probably going to be Florida State pulling away. And yeah, I like that over too. At mid 70s game, lower 70s for Lipscomb. They should be able to do their part and get us there.
Yeah, Trevor, you got anything? Any early games?
Yeah. Just here we go. Pittsburgh and Syracuse. Just looking at that one. I'm personally leaning Syracuse. This will be actual first home game, conference play. Pittsburgh's hitting the road. They haven't been on the road since early December. They beat West Virginia, a beat down West Virginia team without some of their big guys they got now. And West Virginia is starting to play a little better, but I still think Syracuse is going to be pretty tough. I mean, they walloped Oregon. Virginia slowed them down and didn't let them do anything. But other than that, they've played pretty damn well. They got blown out by Tennessee and Gonzaga, but recently they've been doing pretty well, and they can defend the three also and just force you inside. And Judah Mintz, that guy is a one-man wrecking crew. He'll go for 25 points if need be. He'll take the game over. I think Syracuse is probably gonna pull this one out. It's going to be a tight game. I'd rather kind of play the what is it at right now? 140. I'd rather kind of play the under. I don't think this is going to be a high 70s game. I think this will probably be upper 60s, lower 70s. So barring overtime, I think this is probably be under. That's where I'm leaning in this game. Otherwise, Syracuse would be my side if I had to play a side in this one personally.
This one was a tough one for me when I was looking at it because I've been riding Pittsburgh a lot, and I think they're really good. But obviously, Syracuse, like you said, has been on a roll their last couple games, and the games that they've dropped is it's to Tennessee, Gonzaga, and Virginia. Like both of these teams, their losses on their records are against like really worthy opponents, but they both take care of business in their wins. Like Pittsburgh has been blowing teams out, of course, some lower competition, in Kenesha, South Carolina State, and IPFW. But their offense is really good. Their defense is super good. Like I think Syracuse, not that they're relying on the three a lot, but I feel like they're going to struggle a bit more than usual. Pittsburgh's 3-point defense is super good. They're just really efficient, this Pittsburgh team. So being that Syracuse is at home, I do kind of lean them with the short spread. But it's such a coin flip for me personally that I just stayed off. I don't know. It's so hard. This is a hard one.
Yeah, I mean Syracuse will have
Yeah.
the size advantage, and Pittsburgh can't shoot free throws either. That's another struggle for them. Syracuse can. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really defensive battle, and lean Syracuse because of that free throw advantage also.
Yeah, and also you got to kind of factor in, where's Pittsburgh sitting right now with how they played on the road. I mean, we brought up the West Virginia game; they lit it up from 3 point range. I mean, and that's kind of what opened up that game because at halftime it was anybody's ball game, and then Hinson went off in the second half. They just couldn't miss. And right now you're kind of looking at their home road splits, and then away from home they're hitting 43% of their 3 pointers. I mean, that's not sustainable, especially once you get into conference play. That's going to dip somewhere around the 35 to 36% range. So when you're talking about 7% in the margin going on the road in this type of conference game where there's a rivalry aspect here too, I think this is one of those games that could be one of the blowout potential games in the early window because right now, I mean, Pitt, they might be good. They might get a job done at home and then make the tourney because of those sorts of games and also some early road wins. But in conference play, it's different. And I think this is kind of going to be a humble reminder of that.
Yeah, and to your point, Pittsburgh shot 16 of 38 from the 3-point line in that West Virginia game versus 3 of 20 for West Virginia. So that right, nobody's winning a game when those are the splits right there. So yeah, I don't think Syracuse is going to be shooting that bad or letting them shoot that crazy high from 3-point land also. So anything else for the early window that you guys got? I know Virginia Notre Dame's playing. If anyone's got anything there.
That total is so low, dude.
I know I want to play the over.
Rob's Iowa boys almost covered this total by themselves yesterday, man. Like it opened, I think 115.5, and I think it's up like a point or two now, but that total is so gross. I almost like just want to play it because it's so low, but I mean, Notre Dame is in the shitter, man. They are so bad. They are so bad.
Yeah, I was looking at.
And I mean, it's just kind of like offensive ineptitude for Notre Dame, just kind of on their own. And now they're playing Virginia, who could set the pace early and then have them just kind of, playing catch up. This could be a disaster, like 70 to 30 and the under hits, 70 to 38.
Yeah,
so I was looking at a 7-point under.
Yeah, I was actually looking at Notre Dame's team total under 53.5. Like Notre Dame's got like it looks like they're Texas State playing Houston right now with these team total. Like they're so bad, and Virginia they can just lock them down like you said 72 to 38 final, and nobody would be surprised whatsoever.
Nope.
The ACC is in shambles, man. Sport conference, it's just like 3-4 teams at the top, and then everyone else is so bad.
Notre Dame's team total is 53.5. I'm seeing Huff, minus 115 both ways for that. So that's in my bet queue right now. We'll see if I fire on that. But yeah, 53.5. I've been eyeballing that, and yeah, they might not even score 40. Anybody got anything? Stonehill Rutgers? Anything else for early? Otherwise, we can skedaddle on.
Skedaddle.
Yep.
All right. Skedaddling on. Let's see. Florida, Quinnipiac. I know Florida's got conference play on deck here. Quinnipiac's they've been all right. I've made a little bit of coin off of them this year, but Florida's a scary team to go down into the swamp and try to cover the spread there.
Yeah, it's a fat looking spread. I think it's 22.5 or so.
Yeah, I see 22 even right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. I was kind of looking at either playing a total or a team total in this one. But I just don't know how well Quinnipiac's offense will go down to the swamp and play. Obviously, they both play super at pace, and I think Florida's going to win this one handedly. I just don't know how easily they'll do it or how many points they'll put up. Like Florida's team total is 92.5. That just seems like insanely high for a team that, I mean, obviously they can do it, but they haven't scored that much against anybody besides that Michigan double OT game like a week and a half ago. And they did it on Grambling State, but I think Quinnipiac is a little more competent than them. So I don't know. It just seems too high for me to really put money on it. But if anything, I would take, I don't even know, actually. It's just such a big spread for a team that can score for Quinnipiac. So I guess I would lean Quinnipiac just because, like you said, I don't know how much Florida's going to be up for once they have a handy lead, especially with Kentucky on deck, and they're going into conference play. So I would lean Quinnipiac, but no play for me.
Yeah, I mean Quinnipiac, they can shoot free throws. Florida can't. So I mean maybe that's where this cover is going to be won or lost. Quinnipiac can kind of shoot the 3 too. Shooting 34.5%. Florida 268 in the country, allowing 35% from 3. So if Quinnipiac's going to hang on, they gotta make some threes. And if they do, I think they'll probably lose by 16, 17. Keep it close. But yeah, Florida with Kentucky on deck. These have been spots I've been liking, like with Christmas, big home favorites, playing absolutely nobodies, getting giant numbers. So this is kind of a nasty game that I kind of leaned Quinnipiac, but at the end of the day, if they lose like by 35, I'm gonna be like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, really, you're gonna put your hard-earned money on Quinnipiac with this slate? So I'm laying off on this one personally, but I do lean Quinnipiac.
Yeah, there's a few ways that, if you're a dog catching 21, 22 points, that you can kind of flow the game in that cover, right? Like you can keep it tight throughout the entire game where it's single digits, and all of a sudden at the end, it just gets a little bit out of hand and the favorite ends up covering. Or you can be, down 30 and then try to backdoor this type of spread because Florida takes the foot off the pedal. And I think that's the side of the game flow where this is going to be, where Florida might be up like 32 points. And you're just going to have that mental realization that that's probably going to be the case at some point in the second half. And can Quinnipiac, just kind of pull it in and backdoor this after a little bit of a stretch run over maybe like an 8-minute span? I lean towards taking Florida, but this is such a fair weather basketball program, and I don't know how bought in this fan base is right now to this Florida team, because they have been good. I mean, they've looked pretty impressive. I think they're actually going to be really improved. And obviously, Golden, is starting off his tenure there for the first couple of years here, so there might be some buy-in, but I'm not sure where this program stands. And yeah, that's making me stay off of this line, but I would lean toward just kind of laying it with Florida here.
Fair. Yeah, I can't even argue that whatsoever. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Is it's probably going to be like a 22, 23 point lead. They'll probably have the first half covered for the full game, but it's just a matter of second half motivation and whatnot. So yeah, no, thank you. I mean, if we get something crazy like they're down 30 at half, maybe I'll sprinkle something live on Quinnipiac just because. But yeah, I'm going to be off of this one today. There's too many good games to be throwing your money at Quinnipiac.
Far too many.
What else we got in this window coming down here? Siena, Massachusetts. UMass is laying 19.5 points. And no, Siena sucks, but it's a lot of points to be laying. And with they got Duquesne on deck at home, so they're starting conference play as well. Yeah, I mean, but there's no way in hell. But that's a lot of points for UMass.
Yeah, Siena might be terrible. Like they are not looking very good, which is like sad because I was like not riding them, but I was looking at them, in the beginning of the season. Like they had an opening season win against Holy Cross, and then they just got their backs like blown out to Richmond in that second game. They lost by 32 points or 42 points. But yeah, I mean, I was a little higher on them coming into the season. I definitely didn't expect them to be this bad, but man, they are looking like shit. And UMass brought some coin back for us in that Hawaii tournament during Christmas. So I think UMass can easily get it done. Like if I had to play a side, I'm definitely not going to put my money on Siena. It's just like you have to do something for me to believe that you can cover this type of spread. And so far they have done, not that. Obviously they kept it close with Brown in their last game. So maybe they can find their stride and stay within the number, but I just don't have enough faith in them to put my money on them and pray they cover the spread.
I always get really weary of teams that are finding a lot of early success and haven't had that in recent years. And UMass is definitely that team where, yeah, I think Frank Martin's going to have these boys kind of mentally sharp and ready to go, but there needs to be a moment in time where that, humility actually is forced upon you. And a team like this, on a Saturday morning where Siena's freaking dog shit and they're coming into your building and they've just been non-competitive throughout the entire game. They're going to see Massachusetts is going to see these boys warming up for an hour and being like, is this high school ball? Like, what are we doing here? And so the mentality is really going to show itself early on. And this could be one of those games where Siena is just inexplicably leading at half, and then Massachusetts needs a mental reset just to kind of pour it on in the second half. You have to bet Siena here. I think you're taking a side, because right now their stock is just at an all-time low. They're an all-time fade, and Massachusetts is kind of rolling on a high right now. So hate to say it, but I would have to take Siena here. I'm not betting this, but man, it's an interesting spot to kind of see how this plays out.
Yep, especially coming off the Hawaii tournament
Yep.
too. That was less than a week ago. So now back home in lane 20 against arguably one of the worst teams in the country. With conference play on deck, I mean, this is, no one's going to be surprised if UMass wins by 35 points anyway. But if Siena covers by 1-2 points, I wouldn't be shocked either. It was just nasty enough we had to talk about it, because that's a lot of points for UMass to be laying. Anything else for this noon window, or I guess 1 o'clock window for you, Nick, or anything like that?
In the 1 o'clock window, no, I got nothing.
Yeah, kind of a slow start today, but it really starts cranking up here. Creighton and Marquette. Creighton visits Marquette here. Creighton's catching 4 points, Still's catching 4. It's been sitting there for a while. Over-under's 153.5. It's taken every ounce of my will not to bet Marquette, just because I know the books have been hanging some pretty bad lines, but this has not moved. And man, Creighton is bad. Like, I shouldn't say bad, but they're kind of fugazi. Like, this team lives and dies with Kalkbrenner. I don't think Ashworth has really panned out the way they thought he would so far. I mean, there's still some time, but he's been didn't pick up the slack as much for Nemhard when he left for Gonzaga here. And like I said, if Kalkbrenner gets a tweaked ankle or something, then we're going to see what happened in the Alabama game, where they go 15 of 16 in the paint, no resistance, no defense whatsoever, and Creighton can't score. So,
yeah, and the Big East, when it gets into conference play, there are so many scoreless stretches that teams go on. I don't know what it is about this conference and the styles of play that kind of conflict with each other, but like Marquette could be up 10 early, and then all of a sudden that lead's evaporated and Creighton has a 3-point lead, and then it's just like a tide, going back and forth the entire game. And I don't want to be a part of that when we're laying like an entire possession with Marquette and then some. You got to kind of take the points, in my opinion, or at least maybe even the over, I think, is a better look overall, if you're kind of wanting that perspective on this game. But yeah, this is a tough one, and I'm even seeing the line kind of dropping towards 0. So it's interesting spot here for sure.
I literally just watched it move 3.5 now. So
yep.
Yeah, this is so tough. I stared at this last night, and I was, like you said, I was kind of looking at the total, because I don't know which team to take the points with, because I think like Trev said, like Creighton is going to rely on the size down low with Shireman and Kalkbrenner. Like, I think they're going to dominate the rebound battle. And they're like you said, with Ashworth, he has been, obviously at Utah State, he was the main guy. So when we see him just ripping threes, like it's, he's playing against high schoolers, it was awesome. But now that he's playing against the big boys, he's obviously, taking a little backseat as well, being with the teammates that he has. But like, I wouldn't put it past this Creighton team either. Like, to just go on a spree of scoring. Like, they're shooting 38% from 3 as a team, and like Ashworth is definitely contributing to that. So if he gets hot and he finds, his rhythm, I don't want to be on the opposite side of that. I mean, I know I rode him and that Utah State team last year, until the brakes fell off. That was my wagon. So I still believe in him to get it done. But like I said, I think they're gonna dominate the board battle down low. So if I had to pick a side, I think I would go with Creighton, even though they have looked not, as good. And Marquette is definitely a really good team. But it's so hard. I would, like Rob said, I guess I would lean the over. I don't think I would take the under, just because of the potential of these teams to pop off. But those scoring droughts, like Rob said, is also scary. So it's just something that, a game I don't really want to be on, not knowing what could happen, especially with, 2 Big East teams playing each other. You never know. If it ended 65-62 or something, I wouldn't be shocked. Or if it ended 85-80, I also wouldn't be shocked. So for me, it just feels like a coin flip. So I don't really want to put anything on it, but it'll be on the TV for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just because it reeks, like I kind of lean Creighton here. I mean, it's minus 110 both ways. Seeing on Visa and Creighton's getting 18% of the bets and 16% of the money, and this line's moving to Marquette. So I mean, it's I don't know. It's kind of scary fading Marquette at home, obviously. But if Creighton's on, they're on. But like I said, if anything happens to Kalkbrenner, this game is toast. It's going to be all Marquette from there. So, um, yeah, I'm with you guys on the total. I don't really, I want to play this, but I'm not going to. It's just too close either way.
And actually, boys,
Yep.
there is a game in between the 1 and 2 Eastern slate that is one of my biggest. It's actually one of my biggest bets of the day with Ohio going up against
Okay.
Davidson. So we got like that in-state rivalry aspect going on there, and also Ohio, I feel like is at an ultimate buy spot right now because this is a team that's going to finish at the top of the MAC, and I think they're going to go on a run in the backstretch here and this is a game that at home, I think they could potentially put it on a Davidson team that kind of has looked sleepy in some of these spots. So I have a ton of money riding on Ohio, and I'm all about them today.
All
Yeah,
right.
I was looking into this one because I think it's also a really good spot for Ohio. I think Davidson is going to get a lot of action just because they've been, streaking on these teams like there. I think they've won 6 in a row or so. But like you said, I think Ohio will be at the top of the MAC with teams like, Kent State, Toledo potentially. But Ohio's not far behind them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pass them and get into that MAC championship game. I think this team is definitely skilled. They can definitely score. They keep the pace up. And they're catching points. So I definitely lean that way as well.
Yeah, home dog. I mean, they've played pretty well at home too, and even on the road, it's not like they're getting blown out against anybody either. They're keeping these games within 1-2 possessions. So, yeah, I'll ride with you, Rob. I mean, gotta trust
Hey,
you. That's your biggest bet of the day. Let's do it. I'm on it.
yep,
Plus
it's
one,
definitely
let's
up
ride.
there. I got plus 2.5 last night, so this line's already dropped quite a bit too to a pick 'em. And yeah, I think that's where the accurate line movement. I think it's accurate there.
Fair enough. I got it in the queue. I'll be loading that bad boy up.
Sweet.
One of my favorite 2 o'clock games, Gardner Webb at VCU here. I like VCU. Well, Gardner Webb with the points. It's a lot of points for a team that's played pretty tough. I mean, went to Baylor, lost by 15. Arkansas, they lost by what was that 18, I guess. But recently, Chattanooga 3-point loss on the road. Akron they lost by 4 in overtime. App State got them, but App State's a wagon. Um, Western Carolina, they beat by 5 at home. That Western Carolina is a solid team. They have 2 pretty good wins against P5 schools under their belt. VCU's got St. Bonnie's on deck too here. I think it's just too many points. I think it was 12.5 last night. It's down to 11 now. But yeah, Gardner Webb, they're statistically nothing looks good, but they hang in games. Like they're there. They play competitively. They don't turn the ball over at all, and they grab defensive rebounds, kind of limiting the second chance possession, so they can help keep them in games here. I think just a lot. I think double digits is too many points. I think they can keep this within 9, 10, 8 points, somewhere around there. Especially it is on the road, but I don't care. I'm not really sure how many people are going to be showing up for a Gardner Webb game with St. Bonaventure and conference play on deck here.
Yeah, I haven't tapped too much into this one, but like you said, I think Gardner Webb can keep games competitive. Like they forced Akron to go to OT with them. Chattanooga 3-point game. Like they're in these 1-possession games against these decent teams. So, like you said, St. Bonnie's on deck, who has been looking really good for VCU, and I just can't figure VCU out. Honestly, I bet against them they look like gods. I bet with them they look like shit. I can't figure them out. So. I definitely, I could see a case for both, but I like Gardner Webb catching 12.5. I do think it's maybe a possession too high.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and
go for it, Rob.
yeah, and I think VCU right now is kind of conflicting between the two, regimes that are kind of overlapping here with Rhodes and now with Odom, because Odom plays that that free flowing, almost Fran McCaffrey-ish style of ball where there's going to be a lot of jumpers, and you kind of want to get in rhythm early in the shot clock, threes going off, and then Paul Rhodes, or not Paul Rhodes, but Mike Rhodes was a guy who was like really physical defense wise, and they would drain out the shot clock and then just try to post you up in the paint, or maybe ISO ball from the top of the key and let their guard work from the mid range part of the floor. But when you have a bunch of players from that previous regime who don't really fit perfectly into a free flowing style of ball, you're going to get these weird variance games like you're talking about, Nick, where sometimes they look great and they just can't miss. I mean, like, look at that Penn State game where they just lit it up from, their jump shots. And then they're going to have games where against McNeese to start the year where it's like, this team doesn't know how to play offense. And that makes it hard to bet on. And especially when they're laying this many points, even regardless whether it's at home or on the road.
Yep. 100% agree. And also for VCU, these look ahead games, they've actually not done too well. I mean, Seattle, they won by 4 when they had Iowa State on deck. Norfolk State, they lost at home by 3 with Memphis on deck. Now you've got St. Bonnie and conference play on deck here. I think this is a good spot for Gardner-Webb to, maybe do something crazy, but I think VCU will probably win this game. But I think Gardner-Webb's gonna give them hell for 40 minutes here.
Yeah.
All right. You guys got anything in this 1 o'clock slate your eyeball? And this is when it really starts to get going here.
Yes, I do. It's actually my biggest bet of the day. Delaware taking on Princeton. It's this kind of, if you're looking at teams like Stocks, and Princeton has only risen after their tourney run last year because of this hot start and how they've just looked so fun on offense, and they are a damn good team. But Delaware, I think, is kind of starting to tune up a little bit as of late, and this is actually a pretty good team as well. And I think that they've faced some tough teams already. They're going to be at home here in a play-up spot where Princeton isn't taking anybody off guard. They've actually kind of got the target on their backs now. And we're going to start seeing with teams like James Madison, teams like Florida Atlantic, teams like Princeton, who made these runs and have a lot of stock now as, not traditionally the team that you play up for. They're going to start getting these play-up spots from the other side. And I think Delaware is going to pick off Princeton, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily a convincing double-digit win out of Delaware, but this is going to be a game that I think comes down to the wire, and we're getting 4.5 points, 3.5 points regardless. Man, I am all over Delaware because I can kind of see how this game flow plays out here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was looking into this, and I think people, like you said, have caught on to Princeton. They're not going to catch anyone off guard with that run and how they started the season as well. I think we were both on it. That St. Joe's game, like that was a perfect spot to like fade Princeton there. Like I think St. Joe's is definitely a team that can play up. They're really good, and I think Delaware is another type of team like that where they are very good, and they've played, like you said, tough competition. Like they played Ohio very close, who we just talked about. We think is going to be at the top of the MAC. It was a 1-point game. They took Xavier down on the road at Xavier. Like this team can definitely play, and like you said, this they've been off for 10 days. This game has been circled on their calendar. Like they're going to come into this game very prepared to take on Princeton. I do like catching 4.5 points. Like we're getting more than a possession with the home team that I think is going to be up and ready for this game. I like it as well.
Yeah, you guys took all my points. I mean, they knocked off Xavier on the road. I mean, granted, Xavier's not super elite or anything crazy, but Delaware went on the road and knocked off Xavier in the Cintas. So, yeah, I'm with you on this one. Delaware would definitely be my side, and I'll be tailing you, Rob. I'll tail Ohio and fucking Delaware with you. Why not? I need more locks today anyway.
Let's go. Heck yeah.
Yep, it's been added to the card.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Probably one of my favorite games of the day. I'm looking forward to Indiana State heads to Michigan State. I think it was a 79 national title rematch here, Bird versus Magic. You think they're going to be there? They got to be there, right?
I guess we'll find out.
That'd be fun.
We will, but that would be sweet if they're there. But yeah, I know we were talking about this a little earlier. Indiana State, I believe they were catching 10. It's down to 8.5 now. But I was leaning Indiana State personally, catching the points here. They can shoot. Obviously, we know that they're one of the best teams, shooting teams in the country. And Michigan State's they've been on fire lately. They figured it out. They're starting to roll. But this is going to be Indiana State's national title game again. Like, this is the biggest game on their schedule. They can shoot lights out. They can I just page refreshed. They can play some defense and this is going to be, like I said, their biggest game of the year. So they're going to show up. They've been ready for this game. Indiana State's yes, and they're not turning the ball over. 61.7 effective field goal percent, number one in the country. They're shooting 41.5% from three. And granted, they haven't played a murderer's row of competition. They got blown up by Alabama, but shooting 41.5% through 10, 11 games is still an impressive feat. Like, you're not getting lucky at this point. I do lean Indiana State, but I know you guys were talking about Nick was at least looking at the team total, possibly 71.5 instead of back in the Sycamores here.
Yeah, I try, like I said, I try and tell this to like everybody. Like, I try and keep my emotions strictly out of all this shit, because that's when you get like you just play stupid bets. But I've rode Indiana State like fucking like 5 or 6 times so far this season, so I feel bad like going against them or something. But I'm very scared to take them with the 8.5, because I feel like Michigan State might have maybe found themselves like. That Baylor game was a real wake-up call, seeing that that's the potential that this team has. And if they can play like that, I really don't want to be against it. That was just a thrashing. And then obviously it took care of business with Oakland, who has been like one of our little wagons as well. They covered that by the hook. That was painful. But then again, like going up against Stony Brook, their last game, obviously, we expect them to win, but they won by 44 points. So I don't know if this offense and this defense is playing like how they have the last 3 games. I do not want to bet against them. So that's why I was more looking into like a total either on the game or just Indiana State's team total at 71.5. We're taking a team that's 15th in pace, first in effective field goal percentage, top 6 in 3-point and 2-point percentage on offense. They can score the ball. Like, Indiana State is not afraid to just put up 70 plus on teams like Michigan State. Obviously they haven't played any real competition yet. So that's another thing that makes me weary. They haven't played anyone that's like bottom or top 100 in KenPom. So this will be their first, obviously, real big test going up against Michigan State. The 8.5, like I said, is too scary for me for either side, because I can see Indiana State scoring if we're going to lay with Michigan State, and I can see Michigan State blowing them out and their defense, giving Indiana State some struggles. So if I had to, I would take, Indiana State over 71.5 team total. Maybe the game total, I think it's 150.5. But yeah, I think a side is just too scary for me on this one.
151.5 I'm seeing.
Yeah. If I had to, gun to head, I would take Indiana State team total or the game total, but the side is just too scary. I think if Michigan State is playing like they have been, like I said, I really don't want to be on the other side of that.
Yeah, and Michigan State's got this size advantage anyway. The guards are about 6'3" or so, but Malik Hall is 6'8". He's going to be going against like a 6'4" forward. They'll have size advantage, but if Indiana State can get their shots off, they're going to put up a ton of points here. But yeah, I'm with you. Could see this getting blown out of hand a little bit. The Bama game was a 22-point loss on the road. Michigan State's starting to feel themselves get rolling a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know. I really like Indiana State, but like you said, I might be let my emotions get the best of me here, leaning with that one. But that'll definitely be on my screen. That'll be one of the 4 I'm watching for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite games to just kind of watch from a fan perspective today. And that's saying something with a crazy slate of games. And you can go a bunch of different ways. But, man, Nick knows. We previewed the Missouri Valley Conference tournament last year. And Indiana State was like my team all last season. I loved watching those boys. They made me a ton of money in conference play and then also in the conference tournament as well. And I want to believe that they can go in and knock off Michigan State. But I think it's going to be one of those games where through the first half, super competitive. It's going to be great, high scoring, maybe like 48-46 at halftime. And because of that, I think you got to take the over. I think Indiana State's going to push the pace, but I am a little bit afraid of potential scoring droughts in the second half that could last 6, 7, 8 minutes. So that's the only reservation I have there with Indiana State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob is the one that put me onto them last year when we previewed them. And like he said, we rode them in the conference tournament. And going into the season, they kept a spot in my heart, so I obviously was paying attention. And the fact that, like, you guys know me, like, I don't bet unders, I don't bet any of that shit. Even if I like them, I just won't put them on the card. So my card is always just overs, which might be stupid, but obviously with the pace that they play and how they score, like, they've been one of the teams that I just go back to every time I see them on the board. I have to look into it because they just aren't afraid to just drop 80 plus on these teams. But yeah, I think they'll probably squeak onto the card with the team total. I think that, like you said, they can push the pace, and if they're making it close, they might make Michigan State push their pace up. Not that they play slow; they're 141st in possession length, but their tempo is really slow because their defense slows teams down on the other side of the ball. So I think hopefully Indiana State can pick up the pace in the entire game.
Yeah, I'm with you. It'll be an absolute must-watch game, but it's just got this weird inkling that it's going to get kind of out of hand in the second half, like Rob had said. But they'll be competitive for at least half the game. But we'll see what happens. I'd love to see Indiana State knock them off. Well, hopefully that happens, but we'll stay tuned for that. Liberty at Alabama. Anybody have a feeling on this or play on this one at all?
It's another one I looked into, but this Liberty team is so fucking weird. Every time I bet with them, they I bet on them, I back them, and then they just don't score for 4 minutes, 5 minutes straight. Like we saw it, I think, in that FAU game. They just didn't do shit. They looked so bad. And I know they play super slow, but going on the scoring droughts that I've seen them go on in the few games that I've watched for a team that is definitely skilled offensively, and they're in the top, top 70 in 3-point, top 15 in 2-point offense. Like, just seeing them not be able to score really wants me to stay away from them. But them catching 8.5, 9.5 points against Alabama, it seems low for an Alabama team that could definitely run up the score on you. So with that being said, I'd lean Alabama just because I don't trust Liberty, in the slightest. I know they're good. I know they're skilled, and Alabama has had some, their schedule is tough. They are 7-5. So I don't put too much stock into their record, being that their losses are all against top 20 teams, basically. But they had a rough stretch. Hopefully this break gave them some time to rest, and prepare for these next couple games. So I'd take Bama if I had to. But definitely a weird spot.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning Liberty personally. Alabama loves to shoot the three. They live and die by the three. Liberty's allowing 29%. It's the top 30 in the country. And Liberty actually, they can get inside the paint. They like to slow you down and just wear you down. Alabama just likes to run and gun and jack up some threes, and that can really screw them in this one potentially. That Florida Atlantic game was ugly as hell. They were never in that game whatsoever. They lost by 9 to Charleston the next day, but they did go to Grand Canyon and they lost by 5. Or they lost by 5 against Grand Canyon at home. Sorry, which Grand Canyon's a great team. I think they're going to be FAU-esque of last year, making a run in March and whatnot. I think they're a very good team, but I like this Liberty team. I think they can hang in. I think they could possibly even beat Alabama. Alabama also's got the college football playoff coming up. So like Noah Beanick said in the college experience chat a couple nights ago about Michigan, Michigan hasn't played well the last 3 years now, when Michigan's got the playoff, and now Alabama does. I'm not sure how. I'm sure it'll probably be a great environment in Tuscaloosa, but they've got bigger fish to fry this weekend. The way they're looking at it, they won't give it. If they had to choose basketball or football, they're going to choose football every time, and that's where they care. So I think Liberty's kind of got a nice little spot here to come in and possibly upset Alabama today. But I'm on the 9 personally. I think they're going to keep this within single digits for sure.
I almost bet Alabama here because, I mean, listen, Richie McKay is one of those guys, kind of like a Herb Sendek, where he's having a lot of success right now, and it's almost like the peak of his career because he's never been a 20-game winning coach in any of his stops, really. I mean, he's had years where he's kind of flirted with that, but it really didn't take off until he really settled in with Liberty. and it didn't take off truly until Darius McGee stepped on campus. And so you lose Darius McGee, you lose Blake Preston in the offseason, and you're kind of instituting a new style where you don't have a 30-point per game scorer in your mix anymore. And they have looked really lost at times. I mean, you brought up the Grand Canyon game. Yes, they definitely kept it within 5 points. They were also up 23-6 to start off that ball game, and then it just evaporated within a matter of 5 minutes or so. And that's kind of what happens with Liberty in the style of play, similarly to a team like Iowa, who obviously I love my boys over there, but they sometimes just coast, and they can, they're hot out the gate and they're launching threes and they're hitting threes and they're 5 for 5 to start. It's going to feel like, oh, this is a great lead. This can't be evaporated. Well, 2 seconds later it is, because they just don't play defense on the other side. And when you're playing a team like Alabama, who we know is going to be able to hit shots under Nate Oates and really push the pace, if Liberty kind of falls flat on the offensive side early or any point in time, I don't think they're going to get those points back. So I think Alabama could win this thing by 20 plus.
Fair. I think are you locking them up, or are you just you watching?
This is man, I have so many bets today, but this is one that I was in the bet slip and I had the amount typed out, and I'm just like, we'll see.
Fair. I do have reserves about their free throw shooting, only 67%. That can really screw you, in a tight game here that you're trying that I think win or cover. But it's a semi-road game. So I'm not even sure. I'm trying to find the arena it's actually in.
Yep, it is. Yep.
Where? Let me just search this. Liberty. It's at Birmingham. So the Legacy Arena. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, still, regardless, it's still going to be a home game for Bama. But I got to trust the gut here. I think Liberty's going to give them a game here, and just the 3 ball is what's doing it. I mean, they can defend it, and that's where Alabama likes to live and die from. And we saw the Arizona. I'm not comparing Liberty to Arizona here, but we saw what happened in the Arizona game when they're not making shots. They still put up 74 points, but Arizona likes to run and gun. They got a ton of possessions that game. So I think if they're not making threes, Liberty likes to slow it down on offense and whatnot. That'll be there goes Nick. That'll be it'll be a closer game. So excuse me. Sure. Well, we'll see. I haven't locked it up, but I'm definitely leaning Liberty in this one. What else we got coming up at this 1 o'clock slate here?
Another one of my big bets coming up here is Virginia Tech Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm. What do you have in this one?
I have a massive bet on Wake Forest. -3.5 is where I caught it.
I like
so it's only switched a little bit, but man, Wake Forest at home, different team. Oh man, I feel like this could be like 80-70 is kind of where I see this game playing. So the over is also at play here too, but Virginia Tech is, I think, a little bit fraudulent. They had that little nice, midseason tournament success where I think a lot of people wanted to buy into what was happening down there. But Wake Forest, I think, is going to push the pace early and just get a nice little lead. And it might, there might be some roller coasters in there in terms of scoring runs. But I think Wake Forest is going to cover this number and not really break a sweat doing it.
Yep, this is one that I was also looking at last night. And I was leaning Wake Forest as well. I think them at home against Virginia Tech, who I agree with you. I think they might be a little fraudulent as well. And I don't know if Padula is going to play. I know he was listed as a game time decision, and I don't think he's played in the last game or two. So that definitely affects Virginia Tech's ability to score, keep up with them. Padula is definitely good. He's obviously a veteran guard for them and can shoot the 3. So him being out and Wake Forest being at home, a team, again, like you said, is not afraid to score. Like I think last year they were like an over team for me that I was looking at a lot, especially at home. They can run up the score. So yeah, I'm with you. I was leaning Wake Forest, like you said with Alabama. They were in my bet slip, and I just I closed out of it because I didn't know. But you being on them and listening to what you said kind of gives me extra confidence as well. I do definitely lean that way.
Let's ride.
Yep, I'm with you guys. Wake Forest for sure. Virginia Tech they haven't really impressed me as much. I loved them last year. Every time they were at home, I would back them first half, and it seemed like it would almost hit almost every time. Like they were a wagon. But no, I think Basili being gone kind of hurts them down low a lot. And like you said, Padula is going to be out. He's only played played 2 games ago, but otherwise he's missed 2 of the last 3 games. And then coming into today, I'm sure he's going to give it a go if he can. I mean, this is a big game, but Wake Forest at home is just been a wagon. Like they're just running over teams, just scoring at will. I think they're going to do that here too. First conference play game, this place is going to be jumping. I think the Demon Deeks are gonna get the job done here pretty handily today.
Yep.
Let's go down. What else do we got here? I mean, it's not a gigantic game, but Chicago State, DePaul. We love fading DePaul. We love Chicago State. But I did hear last night on the College Experience, there's a little bit of tragic magic for DePaul. Forgive me, I forget who passed away, but somebody within it's been tied around the program just passed away. And this line has actually jumped up to 7.5 now from 6 last night. So, I mean, I still lean Chicago State. We saw what they did against Northwestern. And this is another inner city, I guess you could say rivalry to an extent. But DePaul, they got to, I mean, you can't fade them every single game. That's not going to be possible. But I don't see how Chicago State just, they keep games close. They love these big games, and they've been showing up. They're just mercenaries going across the country, across the state, just knocking teams off. So, I mean, it's kind of unsettling that the spread's going up 1.5 points. I know there's probably not people betting DePaul much, but yeah, just I lean Chicago State here and on the money line. I mean, it's DePaul here at the end of the day.
Yeah, I put DePaul on auto fade for like the last 2 years. At least they are really just not it. Like that program is just really poverty. But I don't know, with you talking about a dead guy around the program, that kind of makes me like DePaul. I'm not gonna lie, you can't fade a dead guy game. But basketball reasoning, I do see why Chicago State would be the play. DePaul is just like not it. Like they haven't been good the last couple of years. They're 2-9 right now, 10-23 last year, 22. They were pretty good, but I just don't see them trending in a positive direction. Of course, being at home, helps, but I think Chicago State catching that many points, 3 possessions, I think you said, it's just a lot. So I would lean Chicago State, but gross game.
Super gross. And Joey Meyer is the coach that passed away. So this is the last time DePaul was relevant, back in the late 80s, early 90s is when he was the coach there. I mean, yeah, he had a crazy career. I'm sure there's going to be something to honor him before the game that could juice up the crowd, juice up the players. Stubblefield's obviously coaching for his job at this point, it feels like. And that's a lot of motivation on the side of DePaul. And 7.5, I mean, it feels like, like you said, multiple possessions, but that can be erased so fast at the free throw line to end games, especially if that point differential is hovering around 5 or 6 the entire time. Yeah, I'm probably leaning towards laying it with DePaul. Don't love it because Chicago State's our boys, and I just really enjoy watching this team, actually, from like a fan perspective now, after I've been indoctrinated, essentially.
Yeah, excuse me. I don't disagree with anything you're saying here either. I mean, DePaul has Connecticut on deck, so I mean, I'd say the dead guy probably factors out the look ahead spot here a little bit. So I think they'll be ready. But Chicago State can force turnovers. Like they can steal the ball, they can take it away from you, and DePaul loves nothing more than just hand the ball over to the other team. So I mean, like Nick said, you can't fade a dead guy game here, but there's absolutely no way in hell I'm going to put my hard-earned money on DePaul today. What do we got here? Next game.
I think me and Rob are head to head in one of these games at 2:00. This Texas
What do you
State
guys
JM, yeah, this Texas State.
I didn't even have to
JMU
look at what you picked to know that we were head to head there.
I'm a fucking square, brother. You know what side I'm on.
And also, like, I've just been hemorrhaging money betting against James Madison. I'm fully aware of that, and it's been brutal. I mean, that what was it? Not St. Bonaventure's. That was Florida Atlantic that lost that one. But James Madison, I feel like I've never been on the right side of when I've faded them. So, I mean, that's just kind of the caveat I'll throw out there. But at the same time, their stock can't be higher. I mean, there's some teams that are super buy lows, and then there are teams that are just like is this the peak? Like there has to be a sell point with every team that's just covering nonstop. And going into conference play against a Texas State team that is going to try to keep this as slow pace as possible and play, tight defense throughout the entire game. I think when you're getting I grabbed this at 13 and a half. I think that's just too many.
Yeah. So there is a world in which we can both win if JMU wins by 12 because I have 11 and a half.
Okay,
but
there we go.
Like you said, this JMU team made me want to, take a swan dive off the balcony with that Kent State game early in the season. That was the first time, they let me know who they are because that game was an absolute fucking sweat. And like you said, I do agree that like at some point, like someone's gonna have to knock them down, and Texas State is capable of it. I was against them in that Sam Houston game like a couple weeks ago, where Sam Houston had the lead at like 10 at half, and then Texas State just dropped 50 on them in the second half. So Texas State can definitely score the ball and keep the game close for sure. And we got a little Sun Belt conference play, going on. So who knows what can happen? This conference is always fun. So I can definitely see an argument for both sides. Maybe I'm hopping on the wagon a little too late after they're 12-0 already, but yeah, I just think Texas State, like you said, they play super slow. They're going to want to slow it down. But if JMU can jump out to a big lead early, I don't know how Texas State can, get back within it unless it's just a total collapse from JMU defensively, like what Sam Houston did and just letting them score at will. But yeah, I don't know what to do about this team. Like I'm afraid I'm hopping on the wagon a little too late. So I'll die with them if I have to, but maybe we'll land on 12 and we can both win.
Fair. Hey, praying for 12 for both of you guys. But going back to the last game, Texas State against Houston. Houston shot 4 of 19. We know Houston's a wagon and a half. They still beat them by like 50 some points. I mean, it was fairly close. What was this? 18-29 first half, and then Houston just erupted. I mean, if Texas State's not gonna make their shot, they can get run out the gym pretty damn easy in this game. But it's a Sun Belt action, and Texas State has a chance to kill the nation's longest active win streak too. So there's always a little extra juice coming for James Madison every week. But I'm not gonna be surprised if James Madison wins by 20 points either. But I think it'll probably be a close game.
And like just kind of looking at, and this is certainly you can take this betting angle with anything and kind of look at every single game, like stocks, where does these land? Where's the perception lying? James Madison is 8-2 against the spread, covering at 80% a clip. And they also have probably the biggest upset of the entire year over Michigan State. And then obviously the Kent State game, even though that wasn't, a high profile game at the time. I mean, that caught a lot of buzz because of how they finished out that game. And so you're factoring 80% cover rate, biggest upset of the season. This team is absolutely on fire and they're putting up offensive spectacles. Man, it's going to be hard, I think, in conference play to kind of cover as many spreads at this rate that they're doing it right now. So I think if you faded them against the spread over the next 5 conference games, you're going to be profitable. And that's kind of where my head's at there.
Yeah, I can definitely see an argument both ways. Like you said, it's a team that's their stock literally can't be higher than it is right now, and you're going to get a lot of public, play on it as well as seeing that they're a 12-0 team going against a 6-6 team, with like you said, the biggest upset over Michigan State, and yeah, I mean, you could make I don't think anyone, your argument can't be wrong on both sides. It's just going to have to be a game you play out, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and James Madison's last 5-6 games: Buffalo, Old Dominion, Hampton, Coppin State, Morgan State, D2 Keystone. I mean, they haven't played a murderer's row of competition either. So now you're going into conference play here. I think it'll be a good game, but I've got no action on this personally. Praying for 12 for both of you guys. Everyone goes home a winner here.
Yep.
Let's get back to this. Do you guys have anything else in this 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock slate for you, Nick? Do you guys really have eyed up? I mean, UCLA, Oregon. It's going to be a good game, but that's kind of nasty too at the same time.
I have a couple team totals and overs. I'll just like strictly briefly go over because they're shit games, but and no one's gonna watch any of these with the games going on. But another one I have is Georgia team total over 86.5. I think Alabama A&M is rat shit. They're so bad. They're fourth in terms of average possession length on defense. Georgia's 48th in possession length on offense. So I think Georgia's going to get some quick possessions out. Alabama A&M's defense is bottom 300 in all categories. So I think Georgia, who's not, the most prominent 3-point shooting team, but they're getting 32% of their points from the arc. They're going to have a field day inside, outside the arc. I think they'll be able to run up the score. They're going to get a lot of possession. So I like the team total over 86.5 there.
Yep. I like that. I've been looking at the St. Bonaventure game a little bit. St. Bonaventure laying 1.5, over unders 137 against Akron. It is on a neutral. It's at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I believe that's where the Cavaliers play basketball. Nick would know.
Yep.
Perfect. And I love NBA arenas, soft rims, points. That's what I see every time from these. I mean, that's what the NBA is all about. Who gives a shit about defense? Just score, score, score. I think at St. Bonaventure, I mean, they played FAU tough. Me and Rob actually had a lock battle on that game, and I was 1,000% lucky to cover that game. I mean, they didn't do anything. They couldn't make free throws late. I actually saw the scorebook said 9 points, and then it flipped to 10 somehow at the end. So it was very confusing, but it was incredibly lucky. St. Bonaventure is a very good team. They play great defense. They force turnovers. They can shoot the ball. They shoot incredibly well at the free throw line. They 56% effective field goal percentage, and they don't turn the ball over. Akron is another good team here, but when they've stepped up in competition, they've lost 10 on a neutral to Utah State, 20 to Drake, only 2 on the road against UNLV, and otherwise they haven't really played a murderer's row of teams. I think St. Bonaventure is probably going to show up here and get the job done. I think they're the much better team, again, I guess St. Bonaventure hasn't played a murder row of teams either here, but I think they're a better team than Akron, and even on the neutral, they'll still be able to find a way to score. And like I said, soft rims, I think their shots are going to fall a little bit more and more frequently. And with the free throw advantage, I think they can win by 2 points at least in this game here.
Yeah, I totally forgot this was in this slate. I'm on Bonaventure -1.5 as well. I think Akron is a very good team, but I think Bonnie's, their offense has just been clicking. They're definitely a very good, efficient team. They're like top 30 almost in every category. Their 3-point game is there. Akron's 3-point defense is not. It's 318th in the country. I think Bonnie's will be able to control the game. I think they'll be able to score. As long as their offense is clicking, they're going to get a lot of shots up. Their 3-pointers should go down, like you said, with some NBA rims, maybe favoring them a little bit. Yeah, I like Bonnie's, laying less than a possession. So that's my play for that one.
Yeah, I think it's a great ball game, and with it being on a neutral, honestly, this one's one that fell through the cracks because I was looking at it from Akron at home perspective, and just kind of getting that pick'em level of a play. But on a neutral, I'm with you guys. I think Bonaventure is the better team on just how they performed, even on paper. And I love Akron as a program, but they've got some stuff to figure out. They've lost a lot of pieces over the years, and they've just kind of been, it's been a little bit of just every single year they've been cutting off a few of their guys. And so I think it's hitting a boiling point where they need to start replacing some of those. I mean, Enrique Freeman's great, but they need some more. And I don't think it's showing up yet.
Yeah, I think at home it would be a different story. Obviously, they're going to still have the crowd there at, Rocket Mortgage, but like being away from home, playing on, some rims that they're unfamiliar with, I think just St. Bonnie's roster wise and stats wise, which is what I mainly look at, like all these KenPom stats and all this, stuff that we all look at too. But I think Bonnie's is definitely a little bit better than them. I think they're 1.5 points better than them on a neutral. I think they'll be able, like I said, to get their shots to fall. And like you said, Akron has some stuff to figure out. Definitely not down on Akron. I think they are a good team. I think we could see them making some noise in that MAC tournament. And we'll see them in conference play, of course, obviously, getting some wins. But I think Bonnie's are just maybe a little step above them.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed here, St. Bonaventure, they're forcing a ton of turnovers, but the non-steal turnovers are 4th in the country at 11.3 defensive possessions. And Akron here, they're 20.5% turnover rate on offense. It's 313th in the country, and their non-steal turnovers is 200th in the country. So they're not having a very good time on offense, hanging onto the ball and getting good offensive possessions here. I think St. Bonaventure is going to have their way. This is going to be probably end up being a pretty big win for St. Bonaventure here. But I mean, it does kind of stink a little bit why it's only 1.5 here, but Akron is quote unquote the home team per se, with it being in Ohio here. So I'm gonna, you know what, I'll play St. Bonaventure. I want to lock that up -1.5. Yeah, if I get burnt, so be it. But they're by far the better team than Akron here. UCLA, Oregon. Anybody have a play on this other than, if anything, I'd be looking at the under just because this is nasty.
This is the psychedelic court.
Yeah, literally.
Yes.
This court, it's so ugly, man. I can't believe they fucking want to play on this court. It's so gross.
Nike gives them too much money. They don't know what to do with it anymore.
Oregon is like, being that they have their two guys out that are like two of their top players, and they're still kind of like smoking these teams. Like USC was an 8-point win, Kent State 14-point win. Obviously, they got kind of burnt by Syracuse, but I think UCLA is in such a weird spot here. I'm really not buying into UCLA right now. I think they have to kind of prove it to me for me to bet against or bet with them, especially going into this Pac-12 conference play. The Pac-12 is kind of loaded. I kind of like a lot of these teams in the Pac. Like I think, obviously, I have a future with Arizona to be the regular season champ, with Purdue to be the Big Ten regular season champ. So I hate, again, that I'm high on Arizona because I hate Caleb Love. But there's a lot of teams in the Pac-12 that are really good. I think Colorado is definitely in the mix. Colorado State, they're not even in the Pac-12, but I think Colorado is going to be up there. I think Cal is a shockingly bad team, seeing at their roster is pretty good, but they used to kind of suck. Utah's in the mix too. But UCLA, when they get into these games against teams like Oregon, Utah, Colorado, even Washington is been playing really good. They just seem so bad. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know if Mick Cronin lost his touch or what. I know they've lost a lot of key guys, especially with Hawkes being gone now on the Heat. But man, this team is just not a team that I'm willing to back. And Oregon has been, like I said, with those two guys out, they've still been playing really good. So I don't have a play, but I would lean Oregon for sure.
Yep, I'm with you.
UCLA's got
UCLA. Yep, yeah, UCLA. I mean, they got incredibly lucky to cover that Oregon State game. I know me and Rob are on Oregon State here. With the money line a little bit here, but holy hell, Oregon State just went cold and UCLA got hot for about 5 minutes, and that was all it took, and they overtook it. But yeah, Oregon's a different animal. I think they're kind of starting to round into form a little bit here. Granted, they got their asses whooped by Syracuse on the road, but that was across the country, or middle of the country, I should say. But yeah, UCLA, they're fugazi as hell to me. I don't buy them one bit. I'm going to fade them again today. I'm taking Oregon. What's this at 7.5 now? And it's juiced to UCLA -115. Maybe it'll pop down to 7, and I'll grab that. But I don't buy into this UCLA team whatsoever. They can go 9 minutes without scoring, and nobody's shocked. It's just ugly as hell. But UCLA will have that size advantage, considering that Biddle and Dante are out for Oregon. So if this gets turned into a grind you out game, slow paced, I think UCLA could do some shit, especially with that size advantage. They're going to grab the rebounds, kill Oregon's second chance opportunities. So Oregon's going to need to make their threes and force UCLA to not just live in the paint and grab all the boards to kind of hang into this one. But I think Oregon's going to get it done at home. Yeah, and going back to Mick Cronin, sorry, I don't think Mick Cronin. I think this team's kind of out on Mick Cronin a little bit. I know they showed a little bit of fight last week, but man, every time kids are leaving the floor, he's talking to them, and they kind of just are nodding their head and walking back to the bench. Like, I don't know. I don't think they're really a big fan of Mick Cronin this year.
Yeah, and they're also kind of just inept offensively, and stepping in on the road in two different spots back to back. I mean, these road trips start to wear on you. And also shout out to Chad G, good dude, in the chat, and Colorado, yes, that team is going to be a wagon. Them and Utah were my two favorites to make the Sweet 16 out of the Pac-12 coming into the season. So all about them. I'm right there with you, Chad. But yeah, I think Oregon, again, the psychedelic court, you have back-to-back road spots after just one day in between, and UCLA just kind of looking inept offensively. And they're physical on defense, and that's going to create some problems, especially if with Oregon banged up. But I think this is going to be kind of like the flow of last night's Utah Washington State game, where it's going to feel competitive maybe for 25-30 minutes, and then all of a sudden Oregon just kind of goes on a scoring run, the crowd gets alive for this game, and UCLA just gets run out of the building at the very end. So I'm right there with you guys. I think Oregon's going to turn it up late, and I wouldn't bet this on like a first half basis, but man, I think Oregon's going to end up winning by double digits.
Yeah. UCLA is just disgusting. I mean, they give up 45 points to Maryland at home too. So I mean, like, their defense can just fail to show up at times too, along with the offense. So this is, they're just not a good team this year at all. They're going to be dog shit. I guess we'll kind of get skedaddling a little bit here. Anything Wichita State, Kansas? Anybody got anything on that? Excuse me.
Let me take you to an obscure lock. It's again not a high profile game, but Northern Colorado, Northern Arizona. This is a home spot that I just love every single year because Northern Colorado never carries a good looking record coming into conference play, or even just kind of the back half of the season. And Greeley, Colorado, look up the elevation, folks. This is one of the biggest kind of home environment type, or not even because of the atmosphere, but because of the actual elements that you're facing when you go on the road to take on this team. And they've only played one game since the beginning of November here. So, and the only two home games the entire season against, teams that are in Division I. So I really do think Northern Colorado is going to pour it on, and they're also going to have the elements on their side. Man, I think that, I caught this line at 4.5. Now it's all the way up to 6.5. I think you lay this all the way up to -7 and feel pretty confident about it.
It's all the way up to 6.5 now.
Yeah.
It's juiced too, so it's getting ready to move to 7.
Holy shit! I saw it last night. I was leaning them as well. It's a lot. That's
a good fact, Rob. I didn't know that was arguably one of the highest elevations. Not only the atmosphere, but the literal atmosphere you got to deal with.
Right, exactly.
Wilmington, Kansas. I see it's up to +11 now. I got +10 last night on Wilmington. I'm not high on this Arkansas team whatsoever. They're not really meshing well. They don't have that chemistry built up yet for the Muss Bus here. And lost my page here. Yeah, and Wilmington, we saw them go on the road and beat Kentucky this year. And now Arkansas also has Auburn on deck. So granted, it's at home, but they still got them on deck. They beat Abilene Christian by 10 at home. Lipscomb, they won by 3. Oklahoma, they lost by 9. So I mean, it's not like they've been dominating teams. They beat Furman by 14, Duke by 5. So I mean, they've got an impressive win there against Duke. But Wilmington, this is the rest of it. They got Drexel, Townsend, Mount. Like, this is the biggest game of the schedule after that Kentucky game, and they got they beat Kentucky by 7 on the road. So I think they're going to show up here. They don't turn the ball over. They don't give you free possessions by running down the court. They can shoot free throws. Excuse me. But they can't really defend the 3 ball too well. So, I mean, if Arkansas is draining threes and just firing them up, it's going to be a long day. But I think they're probably looking ahead to Auburn a little bit here. And Wilmington's going to catch them. And these North Carolina schools have been really good on the road this year, keeping teams close and giving them scares.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because and the one time I backed Wilmington was against App State, where they got absolutely battered by 30 points. So I have that memory lingering in my brain. And of course, the only game I really watched, like had my eyes on the entire game for Arkansas, of course, was that Duke game. But yeah, I think Wilmington catching 10.5 points. Like you said, with Arkansas looking ahead to conference play against Auburn, which is obviously going to be a huge game. I think 10.5, you're getting more than 3 possessions with Wilmington, who can definitely slow them down. Like yeah, I think that's what I would lean. But yeah, like you said too, they got to just be careful of their 3-point Arkansas's 3-point offense. If they start knocking down shots, that's where Arkansas can pull away.
Yeah, and you do got to kind of be a little bit weary with Wilmington just because they might have shot their load against Kentucky. I mean, and
Also
going on the
true.
road in that building and then pulling off that upset. And now they're not really catching Arkansas off guard here because that's perfect bulletin board material that you can actually truly use as a coach. Like they just went into an SEC environment with a team that is probably on a similar level to Arkansas and they beat them and beat them handedly. I mean, I feel like that's going to be getting Arkansas to at least get right here. And Eric Musselman, I mean, this is a professional coach. Like this guy has coached pros and he knows how to kind of shape his guys into form and not tolerate bullshit and the laissez-faire attitude that kind of goes on with some of these college programs. So I think Arkansas, this could be a stomp spot, just because that UNC Wilmington's not really catching them off guard here.
Yeah, I love Musselman as a coach. I think that's a guy that, like, in these type of games, I love backing Muss. I think the Muss bus is legit. Really like him. I think he's a player's coach too. I think the guys love to play for him and get up when he gets up. Like if your coach is ripping his shirt off, getting hype after big games, like that's a guy I want to play for, honestly. So yeah, I definitely lean with, or I like that, look. I think the better coach definitely get these guys up for it. So I could see the argument for Arkansas.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, I can't argue that whatsoever either. I mean, it's not like Wilmington's played lights out, but I'm liking this look ahead spot a little bit for Arkansas and the fact that they've gotten up. I mean, like Nick said, the Appalachian State absolutely walloped them, but Kentucky, they beat them outright. So, I mean, on the road, and Kentucky's a damn good team. Like they don't just give you the ball. It's not like it was a fluky win. Like they played damn good. But yeah, Arkansas's got Auburn on deck. That's a huge game. They did lose at home to UNC Greensboro also by 6. So maybe Greensboro sharing a little information with Wilmington here. Want to see fellow little brother succeed. But yeah, I've already got it locked into +10. I'm riding it. It went up to 11, but I don't give a shit. I think they give them a good game here. So fingers crossed. We'll see what happens there.
Yep.
I guess, do you guys, what are the games you guys want to go over here before get going? We got about 35 minutes till tip off here. So, any other games in this 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock window that's catching your eye?
So I have a pretty big one. Again, I know I've talked about my biggest bets of the day so far, and that's because I have so much. I have more money on this slate than any other slate in the calendar year of 2023. And a lot of it's pertaining to the college basketball. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the games are telling me like I wouldn't be betting this kind of volume if there weren't bets that I liked out there. And Eastern Washington's another one because this is a team that record wise does not look appealing right now, but they could potentially run the entire table in the Big Sky. And I don't think anybody would blink because they do it every single year. And they challenged themselves in non-con and they were competitive with teams like Cincinnati, teams like Washington. And man, I really believe that this could be just a tear down the stretch where they win by 20, 15, 20, 22, 30, depending on who they play. And you're talking about a team that's at home right now against a Sacramento State team who has looked awful. And let me tell you, I bet on Sacramento State. I've watched some of their games. They are far too white. They are far too unathletic. They suck. This team is bad. I think Eastern Washington could win this by 40 and nobody would blink. So 11.5 is where I grabbed it at -104 odds. So basically kind of like the even pair. I'm all about that at that number. And now I'm seeing 10.5 out there at -110. Lay it.
Yep, I'm on this as well. I think Sacramento State is just shit. They're so bad, like bottom 300 defensive categories. They're almost a worse team in the country in terms of turning the ball over on offense. And they're not, even though Eastern Washington does have some turnover problems as well. Sacramento State isn't looking to force any turnovers. They're also terrible at that. Offensively, like you said, Eastern Washington is definitely the better team. And like you said, they were close. Even like Cincinnati, 12-point game, Ole Miss, 11-point game, Washington, 7 points. Like they are competitive with these big teams. So I think when they get into these conference play against the Big Sky teams, who I fucking hate this conference. I think all these teams kind of suck. But when you see a team like Eastern Washington, who's playing up with those big guys, going into a team like Sacramento State, I don't see why they won't just stomp them if they can keep it close with like teams like Washington and Ole Miss, like I said. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm on it as well. I think they roll here.
Yeah, I can't argue against that. Sac State is horrendous. Is, like Nick said, worst team in hanging out of the ball on offense. I mean, how the hell are you going to score if you're just giving the ball away every time? So, yeah, I'd lean Eastern Washington. I'll probably tail you on this one, Rob. But I have nothing for this one personally. Wyoming BYU, if that tickles anyone's fancy. Sure, BYU's got conference play on deck, but I love BYU team totals. They don't stop scoring until the buzzer hits 0. It doesn't matter if they're up 30 or not. They're going to keep scoring on your ass.
That is on my, like I said in the beginning, there's some familiar faces on my card, and BYU team total is one of them. I obviously Wyoming's not playing at a super high pace like some of the other teams that BYU has played against, like Evansville or some other of these teams on their schedule. But Wyoming by all means doesn't play slow, and on defense the teams are getting their possessions out quickly. But yeah, BYU at home in Provo. I mean, they just lay it on teams. I'm not gonna, get away from a team that's, not afraid to put up 100 points. They put up on Bellarmine, 86 on Georgia State, 90 on Denver, 96 on Evansville. Like these games at home in Provo, they love these rims. They obviously know them very well. They're an excellent 3-point shooting team. They're very good on defense. They can get some turnovers on Wyoming, who is 354th in the country at turning the ball over. So we should get some extra possessions with BYU. If they're just ripping the ball from deep. Tiki down low. Love him. Love the guys with the double names. But yeah, this team, I'm not going to fade them at home. With a team total in the mid 80s. I wouldn't blink if they put up, mid 90s on Wyoming. So it's on my card. Maybe a little biased because they've won me a lot of money, but I just don't see them not putting up that many points.
And how disrespectful was this opening at minus 23.5? I mean, like Wyoming, I get it. This is definitely a fadeable team, I think, but holy crap, that number just absolutely shocked me, just because Wyoming 2 years ago was in the damn tournament and they looked good.
Yep.
And Jeff Linder's still there. And so 23.5. Now this has come down to a more reasonable 20.5 number where, and I do think it ends up kind of like that Utah Wazoo game that we watched last night, where it's 80-58 is kind of where I see this being played. And because of that and that blowout function and Wyoming really being forced into a style of play that they might not be comfortable with, I'm all over this under of 152 as the full game, even though I think BYU's team total could actually hit the over. So I think it's going to land right in that perfect range of 20 to 23 point differential. And I think 152 is just far too high.
Yeah, I do like the spread coming down from 23.5. Like you said, that is like a big ass spread to open at. It's obviously coming down a possession to 20.5 now. But like you said, hopefully they score more than 80, but I wouldn't be shocked, like you said, if it's 80 to 55 or something like that. I just think like BYU is an all around like great team. Like it's not just an offensive team where they're just ripping up points and letting other teams score on them on defense. Like their defense is legit too. Like they're 7th in adjusted efficiency on defense. Like this team is going to be scary. Obviously I think we're going to see them obviously in the tournament, and I think they could, barring what draw they get, they could make some noise for sure. This team is definitely very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can score at will. I mean, they're still at home. They're not leaving. The one time they left home, they lost to Utah by 4, but they're not leaving until January 9th. They go to Baylor. I'm going to keep backing them. I'm going to take their team total over. I think they're going to score at will. Wyoming can't hang onto the ball. That's going to be some free possessions for BYU there also. And BYU is going to have the size advantage, probably 2-3 inches across the board minimum at every position here. So I don't see Wyoming really putting up a ton of points here. I think they could be very limited. Like Rob said, I would lean the game under here also. And this could be like a 90 to 57 game or something like that. I wouldn't be shocked, but I'll be taking that team total over. I'm just too big of a pussy to bet a BYU under with how well this team's playing at home right now.
Them being in the Big 12 too is definitely we're gonna get some like real test games for them, because I think if they were still in the Mountain West, They would have some competition with some of these other teams. Like I said, Colorado State, I think, is a good team in that conference as well. But being in the Big 12, they're going to get some real big tests, like you said, going to Baylor, Iowa State, playing at Texas Tech. So we'll see some legit games from them. And if they can hang with those teams or knock some of them off on the road, like we'll really get a good idea of how good this team really is.
Yeah. And I think, once they step into Baylor, that's going to be a shock to their system where,
oh yeah,
man, and even like Morgantown, I think they're going to lose half of these road games where they seemingly, if it was a neutral site or if they were at home, they'd be laying double digits and they might win by double digits. I think there's going to be the road spots here in the Big 12 where they just get pummeled.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I like that they're in the Big 12 now, because a team like this, like you never really know. We've seen it. Obviously, Gonzaga is always good, but they play against nobody the entire year, minus their 2 or 3 non-con games. But now that they're in like a real conference, that's almost like always the most competitive conference in terms of, college basketball. Like they play against a lot of really good teams, and they're going to have to go on the road and really prove, to their fans and to all of us, like how good they really are. So like you said, go stepping into Morgantown, stepping into Baylor. I don't know where they play Houston, but that's home. Another huge. Okay. So even at home though, Houston, coming to Provo or to Provo, like Houston could knock them off too, but it's still a big game for them. So I really love, this is where the conference realignment is really nice, because we get a team that's very good that I think would just absolutely stomp their old conference. But they're going to be battle tested for sure.
Yep.
100%. Yeah. That Houston BYU game is going to be nuts. Place is going to be jumping. Austin P, Memphis, anything? Anyone got anything for that game? I know they're laying 20.5, which is quite a bit of points with conference play on deck, but it's just Tulsa. So, I don't know how much they're really looking that much ahead to it.
Yeah, nothing for me on this one.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Govs, but 20.5 feels like the right number for Memphis.
They should be like way better than they've looked to start the season. I feel like, didn't they?
Yeah.
Was Austin P the team that got all the transfers from some other
Northwestern
team?
State.
Yeah.
So they inherited Northwestern State's assistant head coach, then basically the entire starting 5 minus 1 player, and they sucked out the gate. There was just something really wrong with this squad. They've started to really pick it up late. They went into Southern Illinois and they knocked off the Salukis. And I think that was a really big turning point for this program. And I think they're going to be really good once conference play picks up. But Memphis feels like kind of a wagon right now that I don't want to get in front of until their stock is too high, far too high.
Yeah, and they got that win against Ohio too, which is another nice win for them. Obviously being at home still, but still a big win. But like you said, they started really bad, which is again like another memory that's lingering, just how bad they've started. So we'll see how they turn it around in conference play. I think they'll be decent for sure. But yeah, I think Memphis, like we said at the top of the show too, like I hate that Memphis is this good because I love hating on Penny Hardaway, but man, this team is fucking rolling.
Yeah, Austin P likes to play incredibly slow too, grind you out. So does Virginia, and Memphis dog walked them. If they're not, if Austin P is not shooting 55%, they're going to get run out the gym pretty damn quick in this game. I do lean Memphis in this one actually, but 20 points, it's a lot with conference play on deck. I don't know if I'll be back in that. Anything else you guys looking in this window? West Virginia, Ohio State. I'm on WVU plus 10 personally. I love what they got with Raekwon Battle. He unlocks an extra part of this offense. He 29 points back-to-back games. Will he drop 30 today? Probably not, but I think he's going to be a problem for Ohio State here. This West Virginia teams look so much better with him. It really sucks that they lost Jesse Edwards, because this team was, if they had Jesse Edwards and Raekwon Battle going, this team would just be very, very good and scary. But still, adding Raekwon Battle is a huge get for this team. Who else do they add to? I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Kirk Kriisa.
Yeah.
Kriisa, yes.
I saw someone chirping Raekwon on Twitter. They said something about him like averaging 29 and a half, and he's averaging like half an assist in those 2 games. But honestly, bro, if I was put up 30 a game too, I wouldn't pass it either. But yeah,
You
him
can
being
pass
on
it.
that team definitely unlocks a different level for them. I don't have a play on it, but I'm with you on West Virginia plus 10. I think it's just a lot of points, and I was a big hater on Ohio State to start the year, but they've shut me up because I think they look legit now. But I think just 10.5 for West Virginia is just a tad too many. Yeah, I think, like you said, with the addition of Battle and Crease, I think that's what really unlocks them to get some good play in. So I like them catching more than 3 possessions.
Yeah, and Ohio State was a team that actually coming into the year I put in my top 4 in the Big Ten. I kind of saw a little bit of a massive bounce back from them, and I think they've kind of lived up to that billing. But 10 points is a lot when you're talking about a team. And again, I kind of looking at these teams like stocks, and where can I buy low? Where can I sell high? And West Virginia right now, I feel like is an absolute buy low spot because even with all the transfer portal news and these guys getting back on the court, they still lost, right out the gate there to Radford at home. And so their stock is just kind of, and not as high as I think it'll finish. And so 10 points, man, I think this is a tight ball game throughout the entire thing. And yeah, I'm all over the points here. I have a bet on it thanks to Mac over at the TC.
Yeah, he was the selling point. And this is also a neutral court game. This is at I just had it.
It's also at the Cavs arena.
Okay, so they're doing a little back to back. Yeah,
Yep.
NBA rims, and that's perfect for Raekwon Battle. It's just gonna be jacking up shots. His points right now is 17.5 plus 104. If that tickles anyone's fancy for that, but I'm on the points personally for WV.
Love it.
What do we got? And Yale Santa Clara. This should be a good game. Yale's catching 2.5 at Santa Clara. Over unders 147. Anyone got anything in that initially, or?
I got nothing. I honestly have nothing past 6 p.m. The only one I was looking at is the late night cap, but yeah, I haven't really dove too much into that Santa Clara game. I think we've been on them a couple times here and there. I think they're a decent team, but I think Yale is also competitive. I think Yale usually has a bunch of size on them as well, but Santa Clara is also a very large team. So I think Santa Clara, laying a couple points at home would probably be my play if I had to, but no real opinion on it.
Yale is going to be my favorite to win the Ivy, even over Princeton. So I really do love this team. I think this is the appropriate number, which makes me I don't the books kind of know about Yale because there's been a lot of really tough lines to take them with. Like they're laying 15.5 against Stony Brook. They're laying all these double-digit spreads against somewhat decent on the low major, mid-major competition, and that all just kind of screams, we know Yale's good. We're not going to let you take advantage of knowing that they're good. And eventually there is going to be a buy spot with them. But right now, I just kind of think their stock is right where the appropriate level of value there.
Yeah, I mean, they gave Kansas a game, but they blew that last, 5-10 minutes of the game or so roughly. And barely
tied.
covered by the hook. Yeah, they were leading
the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting there at the bar watching the game. I'm like, why the hell didn't they lock up Yale in this one? And then all of a sudden, just second half, it just went to shit for them. I mean, they still covered by the hook or pushed, but yeah, they were leading that game against Kansas.
Yep.
Yeah, I lean Santa Clara in this one, but I'm not going to play it. Like you said, it just seems too spot on. It's gone up 3 points. I don't want to be laying more than a possession with Santa Clara against Yale in this.
Yep.
We got Grand Canyon at home against La Tech, laying 7.5, over unders 139.5. Tyson Grant or Foster Grant. I mean, that guy's insane. He's this Grand Canyon team in this atmosphere at home. It gets lit. Like this place is jumping, and it's kind of like Cameron Indoor. The students are right in your face. They're letting you hear it. I love this play. I mean, or this team. We did. I know. I'm not sure if you did, Rob, but me and Nick and Huff were all over them against San Diego State outright too.
Yep.
This home environment is ridiculous, and it's really hard to not want to back them every time they're at home just because. But this is also it's Louisiana Tech. I mean, how I mean, I'm sure it'll be jumping, but I mean, I guess they got Southern Utah on the road next. So I mean, this is the last chance they're going to get to see them for 2 weeks. So, I mean, maybe this place is packed up like usual, even though it is just Louisiana Tech, but it should be a good game. I mean, Louisiana Tech can't shoot the free throws. They're not even shooting 46. They're shooting 46% inside the arc. That's pretty brutal, but their interior defense is superb. But Grand Canyon can do it all. They got the size, they can rebound, they can score. They shoot free throws. I mean, they do it all.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love this Grand Canyon team. I think this atmosphere is awesome. I also feel like this number, again, there's a lot of appropriate numbers on this board now that we're even kind of getting closer to these tips. And I think 7 points is like right there where I think Grand Canyon could be covering this game by, 3 points by just, winning by 10 the entire way through. And then all of a sudden it just kind of gets backdoored with, who knows what. So I feel like that is definitely the appropriate side if I'm going to take a side, but I just don't love anything there when you're talking about the spread.
Yeah, no, what you said, it seems about spot on, but I wouldn't be fading Grand Canyon at home whatsoever. Right. If you can find points, Tyson Grant Foster, the dude's getting 18 plus every single game. So, I mean, see if they even have them listed, but I mean, generally they don't. Yeah, no points listed, unfortunately for him. But yeah, stay away from me. But if Grand Canyon does find themselves trailing at some point, I'll probably hop in live because they're not losing a home game whatsoever. Chad, out of curiosity, any site you guys think has more accurate data from others in regards to bets, quantity, and handles? He uses VSiN, pregame, and wager talk. Action numbers are janky. Yeah, the action numbers are very off. I've noticed. I don't trust them whatsoever. I personally use VSiN and Sports Insights. Shout out Adam Rosenberg for his login for that. Using that, you can see the splits across all the boards or books. I mean, so that's what I personally use. I'm not sure what these two use.
You really, there's nothing out there truly that's going to be accurate data because those things don't get released truly to these sites that they're charging you a subscription for. Where's the big money going? Where's all this going? They have an insight or an in-house board of 40, 50 guys that they have on salary that are, notable bettors, and they'll bring them on and say, where's your money going? Where's your money going? And then that's where the percentage lies. It's never true, accurate data down to the digit because if you're regionality based, you might have different perspectives than the guys that Action is paying to be on their board or whoever else is. It's not coming straight from the sports books. That's just the one thing because those sports books don't release this data just for free or on contractual basis. Like they are very internalized because they know they don't have to, pay these companies. So you can try to find data out there, but I think there's a lot of onus and just kind of reading line movement, kind of gauging perception, and then just kind of gauging whether line movement is fraudulent or being driven by something that's actual.
Yeah. Personally for college basketball, I don't pay any attention to lines really. Like VSiN's got their splits and shit. I don't pay attention to that whatsoever. If there's anything I do factored in, it's NFL and stuff just because of how much money and like people are actually wagering on that. But still, you can't trust it at all. I mean, Nebraska Omaha didn't move a single point yesterday. It was 1.5. And who were they playing? Denver was getting like 87% of the bets in the money. The line didn't move whatsoever. So, I mean, I'm guessing those probably weren't accurate at all. But, I mean, they could just be out there to ploy you into actually just playing the wrong side, too. I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to take your money, too.
Shout out John Ewing. John Ewing with BetMGM just tweets the dumbest shit ever.
That guy. Oh my God, 99%.
99% of the bets. Just shut up, dude. Fucking rat.
Getting to the bottom here. Santa Barbara, Riverside. Anybody got anything in that?
Dang.
Rob.
Love this bet. Yeah, I'll lead this one off just because I love Mike Magpayo and I love this UC Riverside program under him over the past 4 years. And this is an ultimate buy low spot on UC Riverside where they're starting to turn it up over the last 2 games. If you guys watched that UC Irvine game, they were within 10 the entire way through. And at the very end, they just kind of showed how fast they can turn it up, play some good defense, hit some transition threes, and just kind of run nice sets on offense in the half court. This is well balanced, just good team defensively, offensively, well coached, experienced. And they also have just a bunch of, foreign guys who knows, there's an integration period when you come over from overseas and you don't speak great English or you don't, resonate with the culture and you just kind of got to get ingrained into a team. Man, I think as conference play turns up, Riverside's going to be right there at the end. And I think they win outright today.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I was on the opposite side of that Irvine game. And like you said, that at the end of the game, they were hitting, like they knocked down 2 threes in like the last, minute or 2 minutes or so and just like burned that spread for me on Irvine and got them like right within the number that they needed to where they had no shot of blowing, that 11 or 12 point spread. So yeah, I do like Riverside as well, especially, coming off the game. Obviously they lost, but I think they showed what they're capable of. I think staying within 6-7 points of Irvine is definitely impressive. I think Irvine's a very good team. We've seen them win some big games and play really well. So yeah, Riverside being at home in this, coming off that game, I think they can definitely knock down UCSB.
Yep.
Yeah, and the fact that it's only 2 points is kind of smelly. I mean, they did just lose to UC Davis too as 2-point favorites on the road. So now you're going back-to-back road games with a day break. Yeah, I'd lean Riverside in this one. We'll see how today goes. Maybe I'll just be looking for something to bet tonight, and it would be Riverside. Just I don't know. Something just doesn't feel right with this spread. It just feels like if you're gonna play Riverside, maybe just money line it plus 115. But nothing for me on this one personally. Let's go Seattle. Seattle U is heading to UTEP. They are catching 1 point, over unders 138. Anybody got anything on this initially? Just gotta pull up the game page.
Nothing for me. I think we were sweating that Seattle game like a week ago, just being in OT against La Tech, just making us sweat our nuts off. But they got it done. I honestly haven't watched that much of UTEP this season, really at all. So I don't really have a feel for them. Obviously, like I said, that Seattle game, I've seen them a couple times playing these games. They brought Washington to double OT at home, ended up losing a 1 point game. They were right in it with San Francisco in a 3 point game on the road. So I think Seattle is definitely a very skilled team that can hang around with these big guys. And I think they're, from looking at some numbers, I think they're better than UTEP. So them being on the road, laying or catching 1.5, I would lean Seattle. But again, I have no super real feel for UTEP. I haven't seen very much of them.
Yeah. Oh, go for it, Rob.
Yeah, and with Joe Golding at UTEP, I mean, this is, I think, year 3 or year 4 with him. And here's my issue with Joe Golding. He kind of capitalized on those great Abilene Christian teams that, made the tournament, upset Texas, and also just kind of had a great 3-year stretch of ball. But at the beginning tenure at Abilene Christian, it was whatever. I mean, this guy was on the hot seat, and then he just kind of parlayed, those upsets and a good team into a somewhat lateral, better, high-paying job at UTEP, and he's just kind of underperformed out the gate as well. And so I think this is a program that if it does take off under Joe Golding, it's going to be year 4, 5. And I think, right now it's in year 3. So I think this team is maybe 2-3 years away from actually being relevant, and Seattle's a good team. So I would take Seattle on the money line here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking up UTEP. I gotta look El Paso. El Paso, 356th in the country. They're giving up 28.5 free throw attempts a game. So they're just sending you to the line like crazy too. Seattle can shoot the free throws. Seattle has a little trouble hanging on to the ball though, which is where UTEP thrives, is just taking the ball away from you. 4th in the nation defensive turnover percentage, and they guard the 3, but they cannot shoot whatsoever. One of the worst free throw shooting teams. They also can't hang on to the ball offensively. So, I think Seattle probably gets this one done. I mean, the Ginger Ninja with Kobe Johnson, I think that's his name. That dude, the permed mullet. That guy can. What is his name? I forget his name, but yeah, he's the permed mullet. Ginger. He's electric. I mean, we all know Cam Tyson is him. He can light it up at any night. So I would lean Seattle on the road here too. And like you said, they went to San Francisco and lost by 3. They had Washington on the ropes. They probably should have won that game. Beat La Tech in overtime. Yeah, I don't see UTEP having a crazy amount of success today. Maybe they'll be competitive the first half or so, but Seattle at some point should just kind of take this game over and get it done.
Agreed.
We got USC and Oregon State tonight, 9 p.m. USC is laying 9. Over under is 140.5. Oregon State, give it to me. This USC team is fugazi as shit. And Oregon State they had a little drought at the end of that game. They couldn't score, and UCLA just got hot for 5 minutes and essentially just took over the game. I'm not buying this USC team whatsoever. Andy Enfield, I think, he's on the hot seat big time. They've got a ton of talent, and they can't perform whatsoever. Now you're going to go back-to-back road games against the Beavs here. I think Tinkle's going to have the boys ready to play after that brutal loss to UCLA, which they had in their grasp for majority of that game.
Yeah, I think USC maybe just a bit overrated. I think Oregon State catching 8.5. They're going to want to slow the game down. Their defense makes offenses really slow. I think they're going to be able to hang within the number. I think this is more of like a 5-6 point game, if anything. So catching 8.5 at home for Oregon State is what I would lean as well.
Man, I mean, oh gosh, Oregon State, dude, this team just pissed me off in the second half of that UCLA game. They had so many chances, and then they couldn't make a shot, and they were leaving shots or makes at the free throw line on the table there too, and it was just a total disaster. And now this line is weird. I mean, USC is somehow laying more points than UCLA did coming into the same building, and that and USC has looked awful. I mean, losses to Long Beach, Auburn, they got blown out. Oregon last time out, they weren't really competitive in that game, and for that reason, laying 8.5 just tells me that somebody somewhere knows something about how this is going to play out, and I feel like I'm going to begrudgingly lay it if I'm looking for some action late at night, but don't have anything bet on it right now.
Yeah, you're right. The line is very weird, laying 8, like that big of a spread with how shit they've looked.
This should be like 5, 6, like the same UCLA line. And now they're laying a whole other possession.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely fishy.
I was muted. Do we factor in at all that USC is kind of just popular because of Bronny James? People love. I mean, granted, it's probably getting to the point where people are realizing it, but still, like USC has just getting that. To quote the Mac and Kobe, the TMZ love. I mean, these are just big games just because Bronny James is there. But and like you said, Oregon's
to wash.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm starting to feel like they're starting to realize it and go away from it. But at the same time, I mean, like you said, Oregon State couldn't buy a free throw late. They're at 76% free throw shooting team. I mean, that's kind of just a fluky end of that as well. But USC's got Boogie Ellis. That's about it. I mean, Collier's a turnover machine. It would Chuchu or Chukua. I can never say his name. He hasn't been as lights out as I thought he would be, especially against who did they play? Oregon, and Oregon didn't have any of their big men, and they couldn't get a rebound. They couldn't do anything right. So I mean, it is a little weird that they're getting more points, but at the same time, maybe this is the last of this TMZ stuff. I mean, who knows? I mean, Oregon State does have that, or I guess you could say of being a bad team. But I think I don't know. I think they can keep it close. I'm just not sold on USC and Enfield personally.
I think this is where the TMZ restarts. Like they win this game by 20 points and Bronny goes off for his career high and everything looks like, oh, they figured it out. This team is going to be great now. And then they go play Cal next time out at home and then they lose. That's kind of how I see the next 2 games playing in sequence there.
Fair. I was actually I was on USC last game against Oregon. I thought that was the game they were going to win because they'd have that size advantage, and then this would be the game that they would lose outright. Maybe I'm a game ahead of this,
Yeah.
that could be, but shit, you won't catch me laying 9 points with USC. I don't care if they're playing
That's
fucking
fair.
Merrimack. I can't do it.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah, that's it. Unless you guys, well, I'll probably be on Cal State Fullerton for the 11 o'clock midnight game. Let's be honest here. I'm
You
gonna be Jennings. I'm gonna be.
You think
Line's
that's
rising.
You think that's the side in that one?
I don't know. I mean, Hawaii's good, but they just played some serious teams, and now it's just Fullerton. But this is also conference play. I mean, Hawaii did almost have that insane comeback for Georgia Tech. I was watching that game down 21. All of a sudden, they were down 2 points. Like, what the hell? Georgia Tech couldn't buy a bucket, but yeah, I mean, Hawaii. I like the McCoy and McClanahan. Was that McClanahan or McCaughlin? What the point guard? I like that combo, but man, I don't know. I don't know if I can.
I will
9
say,
with Hawaii.
Dude, Hawaii on the island in conference play last year was an absolute wagon. I mean, they murdered teams, and the second they stepped off, it didn't matter who they were stepping off to play because they got they kind of catered to Hawaii with their scheduling where they just play blocks of home games at a time, and then they'll take one road game and then go back to home or go on one long road stretch after playing at home for quite a bit. And I think Hawaii at home is just going to smoke Fullerton, especially with Fullerton coming off of that's their biggest rivalry game last time out. They played against Long Beach because there's always some conflict there. So I'm all over Hawaii, and that's going to be my bet in the nightcap. It was at 7 when it opened. Missed that number,
man.
but
It's 9.5.
yeah, I will 9. Yeah, maybe we wait until Cal State Fullerton has a 2-0 lead and then get 8.5 or 8.
Yeah,
fair.
I'm with you on this one. I think, like you said, I think Fullerton coming off that loss against Long Beach, and then having to travel all the way to Hawaii against Hawaii, like you said, on island, who's their offense and defense are both pretty good. Like I think they're actually a pretty decent team. I think they're, like you said, at home they're a wagon in this, especially with conference play. I do like them. 9.5 is, maybe a little bit, like I question it. Like 7.5, like you said, for sure I would have just laid it already, but I didn't even see that number because I'm dumb. But yeah, 9.5. If we can, Fullerton can get, like you said, a 2-0, 3-0 point lead or something, and then get Hawaii live at maybe like 7. I would definitely be willing to lay. We'll see how the day goes. 'Cause I have like 13 bets, I think. So if we're going bad, Hawaii is definitely going to be a late night play for sure. But yeah, I like Hawaii. Even with the 9.5, that's where I would lean.
Fair. Yep. I mean, Hawaii's gonna have the size advantage down low too. So, yeah, like you said, we'll see how it goes. If I get my teeth kicked in today, I'm not throwing money at a Hawaii game, but we'll see how it goes. But
they did play some tough competition in that tournament, but they've been home since literally the beginning of December. Like they played Central Arkansas on December 3rd, and they haven't left the island since. So even though they've had some competition with Nevada, Georgia Tech, and TCU, they got a week off to rest for this one. And like I said, like after a 10-point loss in a rivalry game, like Rob said, and having to fly to Hawaii the next day, like I don't know how much these kids are going to be up for that. So yeah, I like Hawaii.
Yeah, I thought it was Wednesday they played. Yeah, Thursday. So shit, get done with that game and then you're on the plane immediately. So yeah, I actually I can't disagree with you guys whatsoever there, but we'll see how the day goes. Yeah, that's about it. Rob, appreciate you for joining us. It's been a blast. I know we went a little long, but go ahead and plug yourself. Plug what you need to.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on, boys. This was fun. Definitely want to be opposed in the future to hopping on here again. And obviously, massive slate. A lot of bets on the slate. I hope you guys do well today. And Twitter is probably the best place to follow me, just at Rob DFB. And yeah, I appreciate having me on, boys.
Yeah, 100%. You have an open invite for sure. Love talking ball with the boys. Guys, make 100%. Sure you go follow Rob. He's a great follow. Sharp as hell as well.
Rob, I'm tailing you for football today. What are we on?
Oh boy.
Oh, we got some fun football. All college football, stay away from the NFL game, but Wyoming 3.5, Ole Miss plus 4.5, Auburn minus 6.5, and then landing with Georgia. I think they stomped Florida State, unfortunately.
Penn State Ole Miss should be a really good game, right? I don't think there's a lot of
Yes.
opt-outs in that game. I think it's like
Yep.
mostly the starters. Yeah.
Entire roster is going to be there pretty much, and Drew Aller. When you have a month to prepare for that guy, he's awful.
Yeah.
I think Ole Miss is going to at least have some kind of semblance on defense where they didn't have that when it's back-to-back SEC schedules. I think SEC or Ole Miss could jump out really early to like a double-digit lead.
Yeah, I like
I
that
mean-
read. I might tap that.
Who the hell is the Penn State coach? I'm drawing a blank on his name.
James Franklin.
Franklin.
Yeah, he knows the spread too. But
He's-
the thing with
he
bowl
does
games,
know
these
the
spreads
spread.
move so far, so he doesn't even know what the hell he's trying to cover. So
No.
yeah, I mean,
No,
yeah, Mississippi. Let's roll. Let's roll.
That is true though. That guy knows the spread, dude.
Oh,
That
God,
we
yeah, he
saw.
does.
It was very obvious this season.
Oh,
He didn't even
also,
try
I
to
don't know
hide
if you guys caught this, but Matt Painter last night during the Eastern Kentucky game, it was like it was at the very end when it was a 29-point game and there was like 20 seconds left and Purdue was about to get the ball back. On the sideline to his assistant head coach, Matt Painter just goes, "You know what the spread was? 29.5."
No shit.
You could read his lips, and he said 29.5, and then the other coaches like started chuckling and laughing, and they knew. I was like, oh
I
my
didn't catch
god, are you
that.
shitting me? I thought that Purdue was about to launch a 3 at the very end, but they dribbled it out.
Well,
It
good sport.
I
Yeah.
hate I don't like to put the tinfoil hat on ever because like it is just a sport. We gamble. It's a game we play where these kids Elon got fucked yesterday with that meaningless 3. But like this season, it feels like people know for sure. Like players
Yes.
know, coaches know. Like it's very. I don't know if they're getting. I wonder if they like get pressure. Give or take, maybe that's a bad word, like from boosters or some shit that like definitely are backing their teams and they want them to cover these types of spreads. Like, I wonder if that plays anything into it or if the kids just know and having their boys bet on them or some shit. But it's very obvious that some of these teams like are very aware of what the spread is.
Well, I know that with football, some strength and conditioning coaches, because it's basically like not true part of the coaching staff to be a strength and conditioning coach. They will put the spread up throughout the week in the workout room so that the players, if they're getting like 18.5 points or 18.5 point underdogs, they're just looking at like, dude, you guys suck so much that the other team is favored to win by 3 touchdowns on you. And so I know that from just players being in buildings in college football. Like that's a thing. Like people use that as motivation.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it. I mean, what Notre Dame's coach said it too, when like in the beginning of the season or late last season or whatever. Like he made it public that they knew. The Colorado players knew against TCU to open the season. Like these guys know what it is. It's just too out there nowadays that it's legal in half these states or whatever. Like everybody knows. It's just, are they going to play for it? Is you gotta keep that in the back of your head a little bit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sure they're not going to come out and say we're playing to cover the spread, but yeah, they definitely know. There's no way in hell with all the legalized gambling that they have no clue what the spread was.
I mean, with
No,
Franklin, like he made it so fucking obvious in that one game where they were like 27-point favorites or
Mhm.
whatever, and they fake kneeled it and then just ran into the end zone. It's like there's
That
literally
was-
no reason at all to ever do that except to cover the spread because they were up like 3
Disgusting.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it's been fun. Rob, we'll definitely get you back on here again. Appreciate the insight and everything. And good luck across the board today. We got a massive, fully loaded slate.
Yeah. Good luck, boys. This is gonna be a fun one, and we start out at the gate with Mount St. Mary's.
Let's
There
go.
we go. Let's go.
Luck, boys.